Welcome back to another episode of the Isn't That Rich podcast. Today we are exploring a topic that affects all of us, the benefits and drawbacks of cash versus card payments. Whether you're a fan of traditional cash or prefer the convenience of plastic, this episode will help you understand the pros and cons of each payment method and when it might be best to use one over the other. So I'm here today with my other hosts, Jill and Jared, and I can't wait to jump into this episode because I feel like we debate this a lot, like who has cash and who has a card. And I mean, we both have. I feel like Jared never has cash on him. Yeah, Jared. Never. If I pay him back for lunch, he's like, I'm like, let me give you some cash. I know you need some.
I know. I'm like, what am I gonna do with this?
He's like, how do you use this?
Yeah, I literally will, and then I'll like stumble upon it somewhere. I'll be like, oh, there's random cash.
This is so old.
In your jacket pocket from last year. No, but I think there are advantages to both using a card and cash. My husband always pays in cash, and he's always, swinging by the drive-thru to get an envelope of cash, and then I pay with my card all the way for everything.
I take like a hybrid approach. If I don't want it to count against me, I use cash. Like, I don't think cash counts. Like, that's my girl math. And like, it doesn't come out of my bank account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I use my card,
it hits your bank account right
It
away.
hits my bank account. Like,
so
the
cash
budget.
is free money.
Cash is free money.
I love it. So I think we should start with talking about cash. So since it's free money, let's start talking about understanding what it means to actually pay with cash. Cash payments, you make a payment with physical money. So I feel like once it's gone, it's gone. So it's I mean, if we were Dave Ramsey, we would say use cash all the time, right? Never use a credit card, cut them up and use your cash, because once that's the perfect way to budget, right? Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't get it back. But with cards, you might overspend.
Yeah. That's true.
So let's talk about some of the benefits of paying with cash versus card. Like I said, it's tangible and it's immediate. So the cash transactions are no waiting for your approval.
Unless you use 100, then they've got to
rub
the marker.
Yeah.
Then it might be fake.
That's
It
right.
might not be that immediate.
True. There's usually no fees involved when you pay for cash.
Right.
Some restaurants will do like a 3% charge or increase if you use your card. So it can add up if you're shopping a lot.
Yeah, I think even if you're paying like, use a debit card to pay for services online or an ACH payment, sometimes places charge you even that 1% fee to pay a little more, just the transaction processing fee, right? So it does cost a little more sometimes to pay with the card. So no fees involved with cash.
Yeah, and it's like when you go to a restaurant, sometimes they're like, please use cash. You'll get a better deal on your meal.
Have you ever been a place where they don't accept cash?
Yeah.
Have you ever been
yeah.
somewhere? Where have you? Because there's very few places that I've been that don't accept cash.
I feel like when you go to the city a lot now, they don't accept cash places.
Yeah.
I feel like the last couple vacations I've been on, I'm like,
I've been to like a coffee shop that was card only. But, there's a lot of places that are cash only. I mean, I don't know. I think they've kind of changed over the years, but there was a few restaurants locally that were cash only. So I'm like, oh gosh. And they're like ATMs down the street. So I'm like running down to like the bank.
Country Covered in Carterville is cash and check,
only.
I think. And I went there one time when I was at John A. and I didn't have enough cash to cover it. But I was like, I have a debit card, I promise.
Yeah.
They're like, it's okay. The lady was so nice to me. She was like, you're only a quarter short. I'm like, thank you.
You can live without that quarter.
Yeah.
See, as a card person, I would honestly not go to some of those places because they were cash only.
Really? See, I think when the whole COVID thing happened, people got weird about accepting cash payments. And so they're like, oh, use a card only a lot of places. So I think that's when that really started to kick in. Was when people got weird about, because cash is super dirty. It's supposed to be one of the most filthy things
Say
out
there's
there.
cocaine on it or something. It's so crazy, the statistics of how dirty it is.
Yes. So cash.
But yeah, I mean, to me, it makes more sense to have card only businesses than cash only. But as businesses have to pay a fee to accept cards. So it does make sense why there are businesses that prefer you to pay with cash, because you know, they have to pay for that. I think it's a lot of them. It's like 3%.
Yeah, it's high.
Yeah.
It's a lot higher to process that. Let's talk about some of the drawbacks of cash. So I think like it's kind of inconvenient if you're making a large purchase. Can you imagine carrying a suitcase full of money like you see in the movies, right? To make a big purchase like Ashley, you're going through a lot right now with your house and building your house. Imagine if you had to pay cash for every single invoice or bill that you've received.
Yeah. It'd be a lot. It'd be a couple stacks of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then not to mention, I think for me, I feel like with a card, it's like this immediate thing. It's quick. With cash, you're like counting, you're holding out. There's like a line behind you. There's like this pressure to like have it right. And you have to get your change. And then you're carrying change in your pocket, which with me, it's just, I don't like anything in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, now I have all of this extra change that I'll probably never spend. You know what I mean?
You can give it to me, Jared. You know, have a coin jar.
Put it in the...
You gotta have coin jars everywhere you go. It's like...
It's true, though. I feel so much anxiety when I'm going through the drive-thru and I'm paying with cash and I'm like scrounging around for the exact change versus like just tap my card now. There's no anxiety around. I know it's a weird thing, but I was in Panera the other day and I know I had change in my car somewhere. So I'm digging through like the center console and sure enough, I had it. But, you know, people are stressing you out in the drive.
You're like, I swear I have money.
Yeah.
I swear.
It's in here.
Or like it's like out of order. There's like a 5 in between the 1s and the 10 and you're like trying to like unfold and try to... It's just, to me, it's not worth it.
I also think it's not super secure to always pay with cash, especially for those larger transactions that you're doing, like carrying around cash, having cash on hand, especially when you're traveling abroad. Think about it. Like I never travel with a bunch of cash. You guys?
Yeah.
You don't
travel?
I'm total opposite. Like that's
Ashley,
my
what if you get pickpocketed?
What if they take your phone? What if they take your debit card? I mean, I know you can turn your debit card off, but what if your cards don't work wherever you're at and you need cash because it's tangible and immediate?
Man,
you know?
I know.
I do think it is smart to have like a safe clump of cash when you travel for like emergencies and stuff. But like when I'm traveling and like I don't want to spend cash just for the pickpocketing and stuff. And for me, like I've had cash fall out of my pocket so many times. People are like, oh my gosh, you dropped this. And
we were just at the bocce ball tournament in Heron Fest last weekend, and Taylor we were playing, and she found a bunch of cash under somebody's car tire that had just blown out of someone's pocket. So there's definitely a lack of security in carrying around cash.
That's the benefit of cash, I guess.
I also love especially when I'm traveling, to know what I'm spending. Like I want a record of what I'm spending money on.
I don't.
Oh, Ashley.
I literally am like, here's 100. Don't
free
tell
money.
anybody.
Here's my free money.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, it is definitely lack of security. I know my friend Maddie, she went to Jamaica like maybe her 8th grade year, and I think she had like $1,000 in cash because she was going to pay her friend's parents back for the trip. Like the mom was like, just keep it. Like I'll get it from you later. Housekeeping stole it.
Yeah.
Maddie was like, I've never been so distraught in my entire life. So there is that. It can definitely get stolen. Yeah. You're not going to find it. You can't track it. Can't track money.
Nope.
Can't turn it off.
There's no proof of proof of purchase. Like if you were to return something and you lose your receipt. Yeah.
And
at least your credit cards, you have a record.
You can't get your like points. You know what I mean? Well, that's what I like about with cards. You
two love those benefits.
Yeah, I like the benefits. And there it's like, it's gone now, you know. Now I have all this change I have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I think of coins as not, like, I don't even count my coins.
I don't know why we have them. I don't know why we have coins. Very weird.
I know, especially with inflation. Watch
out. Nothing costs a coin, you know?
Right.
Probably not even bubble gum.
Let's talk about cards for a little bit because let's talk about paying with cards. Yeah. Because, I mean, we've talked about cash. Ashley loves it. It's free money. It's not as safe.
Always paying back with cash. It annoys me so much.
But and card payments are both debit and credit cards, right? So either one that you're paying with, they're issued by banks or other financial institution. You can use them for both in person and when you're not there. So like when I didn't
think about that.
Yeah. So if you're paying for something over the phone, or you don't have to be physically there with a card.
Yeah, online payments. I didn't even think about that. You can't shove $100 bill into the computer.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest benefits is the convenience of paying with a card.
Yeah.
That's why people have it.
Definitely security.
Yeah.
For lots of reasons. You can dispute fraudulent charges. You can turn your card off on most apps. I know like on our debit card through our app, you can turn it off.
Yeah, that's so nice. Yeah. There's so many times I think I've lost my card, or it's just slipped down through the seat of my car and I can't find it. I freak out for a moment. I immediately go on my online account and turn it off.
Yeah.
So that's super convenient that the bank offers those protection services.
Yeah, record keeping, every transaction is recorded on there, which means it's real. It really happened.
Yeah.
Unlike with the cash. But
I really spent $30 at Taco Bell.
Yeah, you really did on my debit card. Yeah.
Especially if you're budgeting and you like to go back and look at what you've spent money on. Like I'll have this Target transaction, right? And I'm buying both all sorts of categories out of my budget with my credit card. So I can actually go back and like categorize those things if I use my card. But if I'm paying with cash, like it's really hard for me to go back and like categorize that spending, whether it was at Kroger or Target or it was, I don't know, it's just easier to look back and input those things in my budget.
I have a Discover card, and I know mine pulls up like a little pie chart, so I can tap into the transactions, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent $1,000 on skincare. Like what?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Or I can't believe I spend so much on food. So it does categorize it. You can't categorize with cash unless you write it down.
Well, and we haven't even mentioned this one, but another benefit to using a card or having a card is the building credit. You can build credit on a credit card when you can't do that when you're just paying with cash all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get those benefits.
It's just it's an easy way to build credit too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people we know at the bank don't have credit, and they're like in their 20s. It's like, come on, you need some credit, get a credit card, use it wisely.
Easiest way.
Easiest way.
For sure. What are some of the drawbacks? We talked about fees already. Like no one wants to pay the high fees of credit cards.
Well, here's the thing. When you use your cash is gone. You don't have any more. But with this piece of plastic, I mean, they'll set you a limit and say, yeah, you can use all this, but you may not actually have that kind of money. So overspending is a big one.
Yeah, that's a huge risk when you have a card, using money that you don't have.
Yeah.
I wish I knew the statistics right now. I think it is like billions and billions of dollars in credit card debt our country's in.
I'm pretty sure we're at the highest it's ever been.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I think another drawback to using a card is not everybody accepts it. Like we talked about, not everybody accepts. Like I have an American Express, and I'll go several places. They're like, we don't accept American Express because of the high fees involved. A lot of businesses don't like to.
So American Express has higher
processing fees. Yeah.
I guess I just thought they were like all the same across the board, but I guess not.
Yeah.
But I do know that with American Express.
Yeah.
And Lauren had her dad's when we were in college, and she'd be like, do you take Amex or whatever?
Where were we? We were at our vet, and I was paying for Bruno and Yogi's like 6-month flea and tick and like heartworm medication. And I had 2 cards, and I was just stopping in quick with dropping them off, picking them up, and I didn't have anything beside my American Express, and I was like, what the heck? I cannot buy this. You guys will have to
You're like withholding your dogs.
hang on to my dogs for a minute while I go get another card from home. But luckily they did accept payment over the phone, so I could call it in. But yeah, they don't accept American Express, just so you know.
I think one we're seeing more common is like fraud and like having people's like debit card information stolen and like that kind of stuff
All the time.
And that's kind of where it's like debit versus credit, which that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think the odds of having your debit card information stolen is higher than probably someone like pickpocketing you. To be
I agree.
honest.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider.
Have you ever been, the self-checkout lanes at Target or whatever, and they're like cash only? Like the processing is down or their computers are down. They can only do cash
that
only.
happened at Kroger a couple weeks ago with me.
Did it?
Yeah.
So you could only pay with cash in that moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
You would have starved, Jared.
I'd have been like dropped everything, walked out the door. I'm out.
Technical difficulties. Yeah.
Well, that happens.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It's happened tons of places. You get there and like they're like, our card readers are down.
So let's talk about when it is best to use cash. Kind of what we've talked about already. I think it's best to use it with small everyday purchases. I like to use cash if it's under $25. Because that's the amount I typically have of cash on hand is $25 in my car somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having that cash on hand. If it's under that, I'll pay for it with cash.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
a
I
good rule of
use
thumb.
I feel like I use my card a lot on like smaller purchases, but it's because I have our Kasasa, so I'm like always trying to get my swipes in.
Yeah.
But if I go shopping, like buying clothes and stuff, I'm using cash.
It's so interesting.
You guys
I
are
am
just
so
staring
off-
at me like I'm
Actually,
crazy.
I am opposite of you.
I know.
It's so funny.
It's really weird. Mm-hmm. It's really, I don't know.
Yeah.
The way you like learn about money is so funny.
I mean, honestly, the only time I'm using cash is like rummage sailing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to, like, if I go to a restaurant too, I don't like to put the tip on my card. I want to leave cash tip.
Well, I understand. As a person that's worked in the service industry, I feel like that's just kind of
Yeah.
good manners is to leave it because they don't receive that until their paycheck. So what if they work for cash and they divide out the tips today?
That's a
They
good
get
point.
they get that cash at the end of the day, but
I never thought of that.
yeah, they don't
Yeah.
get the money until later on when they get a paycheck 2 weeks later,
Yes.
right?
I leave cash for tip.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a good. I like that. I'm gonna start doing that if I can.
So I think another good place to use cash is when you're trying to avoid debt. So there are some people out there that just, like we said, Dave Ramsey preaches, you don't want to get into debt. Well, we know that a credit card is essentially a loan, and you will, if you don't use it correctly, you're getting into debt by swiping that card. So
I do agree. Like if you're gonna do like an envelope system or like a budgeting type of thing where you delegate certain amounts, cash is better for that, for sure.
yeah, you can stick to that budget then.
Because once that envelope's gone,
That's it
nothing
for the
else
month.
in there. You know?
Weren't we all going to do that, the envelope system? We were like going to cash out our paychecks every Friday and just
For a month, yeah. Maybe we should take that challenge and do it next month.
maybe.
Maybe.
It'd be hard.
After your house
Mine
is
would,
finished.
no, because mine, I'd spend it all. Because I'd be like, this is free.
No, I'd have like 5 jars of coins. Have to go to Coinstar.
You have to bring it to the
Yes.
teller's account. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I also think there's something to it kind of gives you more privacy when you use cash. So I don't know if anybody else shares an account with somebody, but when you're in a marriage, sometimes it's nice to be able to buy a gift for somebody else and not have them see that you're spending money on them. So it gives you a little bit of privacy. Not that I'm hiding my transactions by spending cash, but if I'm doing something
No, but
for
it's
Tom,
true.
it's
That's a good
kind of
point.
nice to like be able to surprise him once in a while. He's a hard person to surprise, right? Especially if you're sharing like Amazon accounts or whatever. It's really hard to hide purchases for each other on those accounts. So if you're looking for some privacy, spending in cash is a good way.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so when should we use card payments? Best time to use card payments.
Well, I think large purchases for sure. Like if you're buying a electronic, you're going to buy a furniture or appliances. I'm sure that's the best place when you use cards. You rack up the most points that way too, right? Really fast.
Yeah. Online shopping, we said that.
Online
use
shopping.
cash. Hotels, flights, events.
Yeah, I don't think you can even purchase flights anymore
No.
with cash, right?
Oh, no.
Or can you even do
so.
ACH payments? I don't think you can through airlines.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even think you can do a hotel room. Cash.
Unless
Or
they
rent a car. Like, I know you definitely have, like, I think you have to actually have a credit card
Yeah.
to be able to rent
Credit
a car.
card on file.
I know if you're renting a car, they charge a ton. They hold back a ton on a debit card. So they put a hold on your card that's like pretty high in order to use a debit card. So they prefer credit for sure.
I think there's a clear winner here.
Well, I think we didn't even talk about like having a card for emergencies. You know, like having one that you don't use a ton, that you save for those times when you are in an emergency situation, or you maybe keep it in your card or your car in a secret place. And then when you are stuck at the vet, you have it there in case of emergencies. Same with cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was starting to say, I feel like you can have both. Keep both.
So I think we should talk about the right blend, since we just talked about like you should keep both. Well, let's talk about it. So having the right blend between cash and card usage can optimize your financial management, really. So mix it up. Use cash for small daily expenses and cards for larger purchases and online transactions, I think.
That's a good rule of thumb. I do think it's important to have emergency cash, whether that's like hiding in your house or, I don't know, your car, with like somewhere that only you know where it's at for emergencies.
Yeah,
It's good to have.
for sure. That just reminds me. So you probably don't have parents like this, but my grandparents used to, like, I don't know if it was the time or the era they grew up in, but they used to hide cash in weird places. Did I tell you guys this before? So my grandma hid cash in like old Comet cleaner jars in her house. So she'd always have it for emergencies. We found some in her, like, her going through her lipstick cases or like throwing up, and she would roll up little chapstick tubes and get rid of the chapstick and roll up cash and hide it in these chapstick tubes. So she would.
That is me.
Isn't that so
I am
funny?
an old woman.
My grandma hid hers. She's dead now, so don't go searching her house. But she always hid hers in like Folgers cans in the freezer.
In the freezer.
Yes.
I've heard of that too. Always check the ice box.
I've heard the freezer thing. I've heard the freezer thing.
Yeah.
I hide cash.
Funny. It is funny.
I'm like a little squirrel.
My thing is I have poor memory, so I'd be like, I don't know where I put it. Hopefully I'll find it someday. It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah, and leaving a map behind when you go. Seriously.
Put it in your knockbox.
I was just
You put it in your dog box.
I like this to set limits. So use your card responsibly by setting personal spending limits and paying off your balance in full each month. So, but the card, seriously, you got to be responsible. When you're done with your card for the month, dip into the cash.
That's really good.
Mix
Set a
it up.
limit. So you would spend a specific limit on your card first, and then after that, you'd spend with cash.
maybe no more than 1/3 of your credit limit.
Ooh,
Right?
That's good. Yeah.
I like that.
Well, and then the opposite side, protect your cash too. Only carry a specific amount on you, not too much at once, so you can safeguard that a little bit.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like cash and card are both great. I don't think we should get rid of either one.
No, absolutely not. Keep them both.
Yeah, I don't really see them going away anytime soon.
So everybody, keep them both circulating. Use your cash, use your card.
Yep. Have a good mixture of the two.
Anything else you both want to say about cash or card? Final thoughts?
Find a system that works for you. I mean, find a blend that works for you, and always stick with that. And if it helps you keep on budget, if it helps you with your financial goals, find one that works for you.
Yeah.
I like that. Whatever feels like the safest for you financially, I think is the most important. Even if it's inconvenient. So if using cash is going to be wiser and safer for you personally, then do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes it's harder to spend when it's inconvenient. So if you're wanting to save, make it more inconvenient. Yeah.
Maybe just get rid of your cash and your card. Just don't spend any.
Live off the grid.
Off the grid. Love that commercial. All right. Well, thank you all for listening to another episode of the Isn't That Rich podcast. We will see you next week. So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.